Everybody looks really intent on eyes or work on something there.
Yeah.
Should I give folks a few minutes before we jump into the agenda?
No, we're good.
Ready.
Okay. Rachel, actually, you put the agenda together yesterday.
Yep,
You
and
wanna-
everybody has that on their on the shared folder.
My understanding is your TA has been executed from yesterday, so that doesn't need to be on the agenda for today.
Correct.
Okay, awesome. I just saw that through chat. And then I had sent you all the notes from, I think the first thing on your agenda was to pick up the calendar discussion, the 2-day calendar discussion. Rachel, is that right?
I believe
Yeah, if you just want to
Yeah.
review that for us real
we
quick.
did that. Yeah, so I think we're ready, if everyone's ready, to have that discussion of the fall full day parent teacher conference day and the spring work day. And I mean, we've kind of had that discussion. I think we put a pin in it. If my memory was correct, we were trying to figure out if that is something that we can and should incorporate into the P&A, given that it reduces calendar flexibility, basically. So Dr. Hubbard, I'd be interested to hear from you in all the work that you've done recently on the calendar. Is that something that we can commit to going forward? I mean, I think we've all sort of reached a place where we think it's a good thing to have that.
So for sure, the conference day, because it counts as full minutes, so it really doesn't impact student minutes. So I
Okay.
think for sure the conference day is not a problem. The workday in third quarter is a little more challenging. It may mean that seniors continue to have to come on that first day of school at the high school level, which I don't know is a horrible thing. They probably will think it's a horrible thing, but
Everything is a horrible thing.
for seniors, right?
Yes.
I did tell my seniors last night that actually there were about 15 seniors in my kitchen last night, and I told them all at once, and they actually kind of were excited about that, believe it or not. So I really believe that a work day ending the third quarter is extremely important for teachers. I just think fourth quarter is hard, and I think that work day is important to solidify grades so that kids know where they stand, where parents know where kids stand, and to gear up for fourth quarter. So I think it is valuable enough that we find the minutes. We'll have to be creative in finding the minutes, but it can be done. We've done it in this next calendar. It does make it more challenging, but it is what it is. I think it's important enough for us to figure out how to do it. That's my take.
Yeah, I would completely agree with you. And yeah, thank you for recognizing, yes, that it is very helpful at the end of third quarter to have that day. As well as the daytime conferences for parent-teacher, the daytime for parent-teacher conferences in the fall too. So, and I think that was part of our solutions.
Yeah, I've got them on the screen, I think. Number 1 and 2 was to, add the contract language. And then further down, I think 3 through 9 were ideas that may include how you get the minutes. Now, can I just ask a process question? When you talk about how you get the minutes, is that work of the calendar committee that Michelle leads or sits on outside of here, or how you get the minutes? Is that work of this team? I'm not sure of that in terms of process.
So it's work done through the Leadership and Learning Department, and then we also asked Linda to check that work to ensure that we have everything that we're committed to doing within the agreement. So typically we would, I think with adding those seniors in the first day, and then we just reduced a couple of late starts, we were able to find that time.
And am I remembering, I'm trying to remember the reason why we put a pin in it. Was it because we felt like we needed to have a discussion about professional development as well?
What was your original question? Why we what?
Why we put a pin in it, like why we didn't finish, why we were like, hang on, we need to, because I think I remember us saying like, when we talk about this issue, we need to talk about it with this other issue, or we might be foreclosing solutions, and I think it was the PD issue.
I think it was PD and staff meetings, because that's what I recall.
It was
both-
staff
It
meetings?
was the staff meeting discussion as well as PD, because principals were using staff meetings for PD.
For PD,
And so we kind of wanted to join all those discussions together, I thought.
okay.
Do we need to?
A lot of just being concerned about the senior minutes, but it sounds like, you know, with reworking the calendar as it is, you know, it's been something that's been able to be worked out.
I just want to be on the record as saying, it does mean at times reducing late starts and adding that senior day to the front. Because you will have probably an equal number of teachers upset about the late starts. So I just need to say that the minutes have to happen one way or the other. So, but I still think the workday is important.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember if we did the solutions and the interests in the morning of our second day. I might have to go back and watch.
I think that's right.
I think we got hung up on the fact that there was a TA from last year, honestly. And so we were going back to get that information. And
To look at the
then-
calendar that was,
And do we just do it, or do we put it in the agreement? I think that's where we got hung up.
okay.
Okay.
That's my recollection.
I just wanted to make sure that if we are comfortable with this, that it doesn't not necessarily present any problems with the other issues that we still have up there, but that it doesn't foreclose possible solutions. But if that's not, as long as nobody's identifying anything.
I think it was that and the minutes at the time.
So, Michelle, can I ask if, with the calendar as it is for 2021, as of right now, would you need to eliminate late starts at the end of the year?
I think we ended them, if you, I think it says it on, well, I can tell you when. We ended them early. They don't go, I think they end like April something.
Okay.
I can give you the exact date here in just a second, but it's going to take me a minute.
Okay.
I do think I need to say in regards to that there needs to be a focus ahead. And it's not necessarily this group, but when late starts end and that time just turns into seminar time, unstructured, it's a headache.
So it looks like we calculated 0 late starts for May, but we did calculate 5 late starts for April. So,
Would it,
right now, they go through April, but could they get reduced? Absolutely, depending on where we land with snow days.
Could the May ones also get reinstated if we were over? Because I didn't know if you're ending the year with more than what's the number on there, 1,086?
I think what I would say is I will commit to look at that, but that's not something I want to sit here and calculate while we're.
Right.
No.
Sure,
But I
sure.
would commit to looking at that should we not.
would there,
Okay.
I want to throw out the other option too of, instead of not having any that last month, of maybe taking one out of each month of the second semester. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I would tell you that, I'm going to speak as a parent right now. I would really not like you to do that because of consistency. I think it's just easier to say, it's Thursday's a late start or it's not, rather than this week it is, this week it's not. And especially with freshmen that don't drive and parents that have to deal with that. But that's something we could discuss, I suppose.
But it looks like we would, well, I guess I'm talking for everyone, but be in favor of adding contract language to ensure the full day of parent-teacher conferences in the fall and the full workday the Friday before spring break. And then we're going to look at contract language with changing the 3 to 4 on the orientation days. That's separate.
Do I have that captured somewhere here, Jill?
Yeah, we talked about that yesterday when we were looking at our blackout days. It's something that like, it's not in this
blacked
brainstorming
out
thing.
your
Yeah, you have captured, we don't need to put the 3 on there because this is a separate. This was something that came to our attention when we were looking at the blackout days for 2021 and just making
Okay.
our calendar match our.
But and if we're saying, if you look at the screen that, let me just do it just to check, because I stood up and got my coffee and I'll make sure I didn't miss anything important. It is, hold on, Lindsay's needing in. Okay, it is basically the agreement of this committee, and of course we'll look for consensus when the conversation's complete, but the agreement of this committee to go ahead and add contract language to ensure a full day of PT conference in fall, add language to add a full work day, and it says the Friday before spring break. Is that still the accurate time you're going to be adding it?
Yes.
I think it's the
Okay.
end of third quarter
Okay.
is the correct language, right?
Yeah, you're right.
Okay.
We should probably say end of third quarter.
Okay, and then the 3 days, is that something that was just resolved with the Black Cat calendar, or you're saying that also needs to be reflected in the contract?
So there's a section that says the first 3 days of our contract year will be used for teacher orientation and work days. And for the past, I'm not sure how many years, we've had 4 days at the beginning of the year that were allotted for teacher orientation and work days.
Stephanie, I think
So
your
current
confusion
language-
is coming from, we're talking about fixing this in the contract, and I think Jill's lumping this, something that we've already talked about fixing in the contract in with this, and that's what's
Okay.
causing your confusion.
Okay, so number 3 is really just a repair.
Yeah, and it's,
Number
Correct.
1 and 2, you need to actually add the language.
it's just something that like is talked about easy to fix while we're doing this
Yeah,
other thing.
3 is definitely a repair.
Yeah.
Okay, and then 1 and 2 is where we're going to seek consensus on actually, you guys, it sounds like Jill and Rachel, Rachel, Jill, and Michelle clearly have consensus to add it to the contract, but we'll do the thumbs up and down. I'm just waiting for the conversation to be complete. And I also heard Michelle say it's the calendar committee, or whatever, I call it calendar committee. I know there's a fuller name that does other things. It's that committee that works on, the actual way to find the minutes, even though Michelle is sort of just entertaining input right now. Is that where we're at?
Yes, I believe so.
So then I'm guessing in the background, Rachel's thinking about drafting a TA on number 1 and 2 that are highlighted. Well, you guys continue sort of just giving input on
Yeah.
on how you find the minutes. Okay. I'm sorry.
Oh, well. Well, let's see if we have consensus first.
Okay, so then number 1 and 2 on adding contract language, I'm assuming there's consensus, but I don't like to make assumptions. Somebody may still be sort of chewing on it, and that is okay. I don't have gallery view, so you all tell me so I don't have to close my screen. Make sure everybody's got thumbs, and somebody give me a count on that consensus. So thumbs up, you really, really feel really good about adding this to the calendar. Thumbs 2, or some thumbs sideways, again, is you're okay with this solution. Maybe had hesitation, but you will own it and you go forward with it. If it's a thumbs down, then you're just not there yet.
We're good to go.
Good to go. Okay. So Rachel could sort of start crafting how she adds that TA, and it may be pretty simple. Now, Michelle, you wanted to go back to
I was just
answering.
thinking as far as language, on my printed copy of page 45, I think that number 1,
47 in the electronic.
number 1 is an added bullet, just saying a full conference day we'll have a full conference day in the fall. And then I think number 2 is a revision of bullet number 7.
What page are you on?
45 of the printed copy.
It's
or the one.
47 of the electronic.
Well, this is the electronic copy. I think it's your Google Doc that's
Yeah.
47. It's the PDF that's 45.
Correct.
So it's Article 12, E3, Article 12, E3, second set of bullets. And you're saying add a bullet
About the full
Yep.
conference day.
for a full conference day in the fall.
And I think you revised bullet number 7 for the workday.
And then do we want to include in this TA changing the first 3 days to the first 4 days, just to make it simple?
I mean, I think it logically makes sense,
the
subject
same
matter
And
wise.
section.
that's
Yeah.
bullet number 1.
Yeah.
Yep. I agree.
Let's then take a quick vote of all in favor
It's
of,
the first 7 days, right, for this year though, right?
well, but we're not changing the contract to reflect just this year, correct?
So, yeah, I think the conversation was we were going to update it to 4 days because that's what it's been for multiple years in a row. And the 7 days, I think, is taken care of in our MOU. Oh, and the fact that we're printing out the blackout calendar that has those, 3 additional days that are blackout at the beginning of the year.
So I think that we just need to take a quick thumbs up, whatever, that we're all okay with changing the first bullet to the first 4 days of the contract year. Is that,
I'm going to say, so is it really a correction? We will correct the professional negotiated agreement language to
update?
reflect. We will update
Yeah,
the professional negotiated agreement language to,
reflect current practice.
well, I'll just say, reflect that there are 4 orientation days at the beginning of the school year. Is that,
And then one of those orientation days, it says the equivalent of one of these days will be reserved for individual teacher preparation. So that means that one of the 4 days or the equivalent of one of the 4 days, 8 hours, is for like teacher workday prep time.
I just think we need to revise the bullet to 3 to 4.
Right.
Fixes it, right?
Yeah,
Literally
just-
change
yeah,
the word 3 to
exactly.
4.
okay.
I think she's writing it up though as a TA, so it might be a little more wordy.
Well, I mean, you all decide. Again, this may be like under your sort of best practices, but it's not that big of a deal. But it just depends on what you want to get consistent with. If the concept it's a concept that you've never had before, you had to really have some conversation to get to it, and it's really sort of a shift. That is a TA. If it is identifying, something in the contract that, I guess, something in the contract that doesn't match current practice, it wasn't so hard to get there, but I guess that maybe should be part of your TA. I kind of was thinking of it as a repair, but I guess it's not a typo. I'm just thinking out loud. I don't know, Rachel, just in terms of legal perspective, do you have thoughts on?
For a TA,
Number-
it's not. I mean, we just want to make sure we have, to me, the importance in a TA is that we have accurately and fully reflected our agreement so that when we get to doing the work, we're not going to say, oh, I thought we agreed to this or I thought we agreed to that. So an MOU, sometimes you would do, again, my word is the flowery stuff, like, whereas here's the situation, here's the situation, here's the situation, so this is what we're doing. This is just a memorialization of our agreement so that when we actually do the work to make it happen, we're all on the same page as to what we agreed upon. So as you guys look at the TIM drafting, I think that's the lens. Is this correct? Is it accurate? I always tell people, and this is probably a great analogy for people who are teachers, but if you ever read the Amelia Bedelia books when you were a kid, And things mean different things to different people. Like, we need to be doing that test on this. Like, if we say trim the tree, are you actually going to go cut the tree down, or are you going to decorate it? So that's the lens I want you to look at it. Does this mean the same thing to everybody?
And then as follow-up to that, by the way, sometimes I just like to know knowledge about the customers I work with. When the association or when you all go to ratify, do you all do in-person meetings or online? And do teachers individually, without someone leading them through the TAs, just read the TAs? And do you all, like, and this is a minor issue, I'm guessing, but do you all have the ability to explain to your teachers so there aren't concerns on things, right? Something else, would you want to say, hey, this is not really change, it's just, reflecting current practice? Do you get the ability to verbally do that when you're taking votes?
Typically, in the past, we've had meetings at a couple of different feeder schools or whatever, and anybody can show up and we go through any of the changes. And then the vote is done electronically. And we've also done videos that we've put on our website to explain things.
Okay. And then I just say that for fuller perspective for sort of everyone on the team, where Rachel's thinking about, and I agree, I always think about, hey, when we put this contract together, are we all going to agree on what this means, right? If we're interpreting it in 6 months, are we all going to be real clear about it?
I think
usually think about that first as well, but then I think
there is. I'm sorry, I'm cutting you off. I think
it's okay.
As she's typing this, as soon as we agree with what it's saying, we're going to go to our.
If we're good on time and after this, you guys just want to do the work and pull up the agreement on the screen and the red line we already have.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
Absolutely. I don't think this one's going to sit out there long enough that we're going to be like,
Right.
what did we agree to? But I still think that's like what you want to run these through.
Correct.
It doesn't have to be perfect from a legal perspective, but it has to memorialize our agreement accurately.
I think, this is one of those instances where it's pretty cut and dry, and we have a P&A that we're working on together as a team.
Yeah.
So it's easy to go ahead and modify it the way we want to.
So Rachel, on the second bullet, right now I believe, it says Workday for K-8, so would it be revised language?
We will.
We did revise it, I think.
Okay, so I just,
Revised
not
it.
to wordsmith a whole lot, I don't know that we're adding whole new language.
How's that?
I think that looks good.
And I like that. I think that clarification is, I do think it's good to use words like add, update, revise, like what's the verb? And so if it's adding for PT conferences, right? Because we don't have that at all. Revising, because right now it just reflects that, I guess, K-8 get that work day. And then updating for the 4-year and I think those are the right verbs.
Whatever, I'm not seeing it, but that sounds,
Oh, I'm
I hear
sorry.
what, yeah, no, I don't need to see it. I don't
Okay.
need to see it. I don't need to proof y'all's TAs. I don't really even read them, but I like that active language. And I guess I'm just taking it as
The one we're working on
and I
is
may
not
be wrong,
accurate.
NEA, if it's a different situation for your school district or for the teacher industry as a whole, I'm just taking it as an education point for maybe the typically folks that aren't on the other side where they have to ratify it. I just know in my experience, if it was something that's not this, if it was something that appeared to be a negative change to the contract, this is not. If it was something that appeared to be a negative change to the contract, redlined or added to, or corrected in the TA, and you've got members voting on a TA that don't understand it's already practice, you wouldn't want negative votes or negative perceptions based on people think that the union agreed to something that's not good. in a different scenario when it really could be, hey, that's the way it's been. We're just reflecting practice, right? So that's why I asked the association, do you have a chance to explain your TAs when people vote? And in this situation, I don't think it's gonna be a problem, but in future situations, just there's sometimes, I don't want to say political, but there's sometimes perception issues with how TAs are worded.
Group,
that's
I have a question. What is the current PA that we're working in and making sure that's updated? Because was the conversation over here. Because didn't we say we had one?
You have a red line one and a current one.
Oh, okay, so it needs to get, okay,
The red one.
got it.
That's the one that has our changes.
So the one that is titled red line, current P&A in parentheses, March 2020 is the one we're working off of. Okay. If everybody's comfortable with what I have in that TA, I think that we can sign it. And I don't know, if we have anything else substantively we need to discuss, we could do that, but otherwise, we could end the meeting, do the work to do the language, and then break into our committees.
I think Lindsay mentioned earlier, maybe what we would like to do is make sure we have a list of all the issue statements, maybe more written out. Right now, our flip chart has
It's confusing.
the number, and it got a little confusing, so I think we wanted to have them all written out. She started doing that, and then checking off the ones that are done and the ones we're still working on, so we can have a better idea
Yep, I love it.
of what issue statements are left.
I love it. Do we want to just go through everyone's issues one by one and make sure they're on there?
Yeah, I hadn't finished, so yeah, I think that would.
Okay, so any issue statement one is that contract cleanup language to include early ed or pre-K? Okay.
Rachel, can I go back to this TA real quick? I don't want to
Oh, no.
change gears until we have it. Do we need to, on that parent-teacher one, indicate it's for all kids? Because there's been conversations sometimes about it should be only elementary, it should be secondary, but I think we're saying pre-K-12.
Yes.
Correct.
I think we ought to add that,
Okay.
or say all, one of the two,
That's fine.
What about that?
for all professional.
For all grade levels? Or just for,
Pre-K through 12.
I would say is a full day for pre-K-12 parent-teacher conferences, because it's not, yeah, I'd put the pre-K but right there, yeah. In the fall. Okay, that makes me feel better, sorry.
no, again, like, I think that's important because that's a question potentially we could have had coming out of this, right? So, thank you for that, Michelle.
And on that third bullet, do we need to indicate the remainder of that bullet will remain the same? Because I might read that as we're just changing 3 to 4 and we're ditching the last sentence, which we're not
That
suggesting.
sounds good.
I just don't want 8 new people to be like, what were they saying?
Right.
Yeah.
You think you're getting off this committee, Dr. Heather, or this team?
Well, you never know. There's always hope, right? I'm just kidding.
She says, depends on how the afternoon goes.
Okay, and seriously, like, stop, interrupt, these are important things. Okay, NEA issue statement number 2 was the plan time for sped staff, which we addressed with the removal of the redundant language. NEA 3, same thing, that was the cleanup, which we've already completed. So that's done.
And this one was in.
NEA 4, we just completed, right? Okay. NEA 5
We still need to address that.
is about ensuring there's sufficient time to teach priority standards. That is not yet completed. NEA 6 is professional development plan for each building. We haven't gotten to professional development at all yet.
And that ties with SMSD.
2,
1. Estimate, yeah. NEA 6 and SMSD 1 are the professional
okay.
development.
Which, didn't we tie that in with number 7 also, NEA 7?
You did at one time. I don't know that.
NEA 7 is staff meetings, yes. I believe we sort of put those things together, which is still outstanding.
NEA 8 was the BLT, which we have a TA on. NEA 9 is the budget, benefits, compensation, what you call economics.
Mm-hmm.
It's NEA 9 and SMSD
4.
4.
4 and 5.
NEA 10 had to do with COVID and updates and ensuring that the plans would not violate our current P&A.
Do we want, you guys let me know for when I'm back facilitating next time with you. Does it stay as a standing update?
I would like that.
Okay. Everybody else good with that?
I am.
NEA 11 is about teacher workload and reducing middle and high school from 6 to 5. And I know that the discussion on that was that there's going to be a bond that we'd like passed so that monies can be moved, within the budget to allow for this change. So,
Just put that kind of off to the side.
Or I feel like this kind of goes with our compensation plans as well. I don't think we can not necessarily.
I wouldn't say
though.
for this year.
Rachel, does it go with the district's number 5 though?
That's,
You just did a blanket hours and amount of work, I think,
no,
in
it
case.
doesn't.
Okay.
I guess that's the question. Is there additional work that needs to be done this negotiation session on this topic?
On strategy 322.
Yeah,
Did I get that right?
I think that's it. The 322 committee, yeah.
So much easier than middle school to 5, high school to 5. What do
Not-
people think
Not
of
that we
Rachel's
can't ever
question?
go back to it. I'm just wondering if there's,
I wouldn't necessarily put it in the done pile, but I wouldn't say that we're still working on it. It's just kind of a wait and see. So I don't know if we just want to put it over to
Well,
the side to keep it in our minds.
I'd say put it with the stuff that we've kicked down the road to discuss later anyways, after,
okay,
After negotiations are over.
yeah.
okay.
So which is a different, just for me to know, guys, which is a different column than where you're putting NEA 6 and NEA 7,
Yeah, I just added
Okay.
a fourth column.
which may really just roll into future updates and or future IDB contract year, right?
Jay, what do you have in that fourth column right now? Just so we're clear. Just this one?
Since I just made it up, it's the committee
COVID.
work for BLT.
Okay,
What else?
I think the COVID update.
Yeah, COVID
Okay.
update would be on that.
okay, cool,
Okay.
perfect.
All right, Rachel, you're still leading us through the numbers?
I believe we're on
Joint,
SMSD issues.
Yeah, jointly we are.
Yeah, SMSD 1.
And SMSD 1, which was professional development, that's paired, right? It's already paired, okay? It's still
Mhm.
outstanding. The negotiations process is still outstanding, but we've already bulleted sort of some ideas or identified sub-problems, I guess. But to me, that's a tail end.
Yeah, and I just want to say, I've got that as Shawnee Mission District number 2.
Yes,
The other thing is, be thinking about, only because I think that we don't want, here's why I'm flagging it and getting sort of you guys thinking about it. I don't want to get to where y'all have just 3 days left when we're reconvening. You're going to put a lot of work into economics. You've still got some non-economics. Those are going to be kind of tight days. And I don't want to get in a situation where we're scheduling, I mean, unless you want to, where you're holding off on a ratification and scheduling more days on this issue, if it's more of a discussion. But I also want to allow enough time that if that discussion leads to a TA that you want to memorialize in the contract, you don't cut yourself short. So I keep thinking of it as, okay, let's kind of review how this went when you're done. capture what you really like to sort of memorialize, I don't know if you're intending that memorialization to go in the contract. And I don't think you all know yet. So I'm just saying, I'm just keeping my eye on that, on not, if it needs to be solved for a TA at the end, that could be sort of a time-consuming conversation. So that's how I'm kind of looking at that. I don't know how you guys are looking at it, or if you're even looking that deep yet. And just to remind people, this is that sort of document that Rachel's keeping notes on, like, hey, we just did that, we should always do that. Or, hey, we were a little confused about that process, let's revisit it. And then also, I think, is that conversation also intended to think about where does this team go between contract years, which may relate to that column number 3.
Yeah.
Okay.
Does that sound like where you guys are on that in terms of everybody in the room, or what do other people think of that one?
No, that sounds correct.
Okay.
And I hope that what we do is when we get to negotiations, we get to a place where we're comfortable, that none of us feel like we're just, these things that are continuing discussion items that they're going to be ignored or forgot about or whatever.
Okay.
Because at
I'm
some
just
point we have to ratify.
keeping my eye on how we will all facilitate y'all through, and it may be very self-facilitating. And then that we don't end up having a big chunk of something at the end when you think you're done. But okay, number 3.
Number 3 is the grievance procedure, which is still outstanding. And 4 goes with NEA's compensation. So that's already on there. And 5 is just the annual mandatory hours and amounts of work, so we don't need to list it up there.
Can I confirm that 5 was just because if you were going to have it in your letter, if you will, and that you didn't know what might come up around it, you wanted to make sure that you had it in an issue statement, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And if it's not up there, someone's just memorializing somewhere that doesn't necessarily need to be carried over onto your column 3, right? Not that it won't come back up for next year's issue statements, but do you ever formally withdraw? I don't have a recommendation. I just don't know in terms of process.
Oh, which one?
No, we
Or
don't.
no, 'cause
We
Rachel.
don't formally withdraw, I don't think.
Okay.
I didn't put it up there just because I didn't.
I'm
think we
comfortable
had-
with it
okay.
not being up there.
Okay.
We don't have a specific hours and amounts of work thing that needs to be discussed.
I
Right.
do think it would be good, though, in our folders to have just the, I don't know what to call it, though, just the document that has the things that we've all agreed that are going to be continual,
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
as a,
We could
you
even
guys
do
are
a
just,
TA about, let's think about that.
yeah, I don't know if it necessarily needs to be that. I think it's just good to have something to reference.
Yeah, as to
'cause
what's still
we're going to take a
outstanding.
break
Right.
when we're done here, and then we're going to
right.
pick up again.
I mean, if you put it in that 3rd column of stuff that you may want to continue to keep your eye on and or pick up some work between contract negotiations in whatever committee or form you
Understood.
decide, if hours of work is just in that column 3, it's just something you're always saying, oh yeah, that was the one that the school district, put in because it was in the letter, right? At some point, because next year it'll probably be in next year's letter, right? And come forward as an issue statement. And then when you have 2 hours of work in your working column. So you guys will figure it out as you go. But yeah, you're thinking along the right line, like how you organize your drive with the work. Okay, before you guys, I'm going to drop off here in a minute because I think you guys plan on budget committee work. I'm going to give you a couple of instructions about that. Guys, number 1, when you do your budget committee work, what I don't want you to do because you're in the same building is collaborate. In other words, I don't want team 1 collaborating with team 2, vice versa, because the goal is to have some really unique economic packages come forward that are perhaps distinctly different. And that's going to be sort of the rich work, if you will, when you come back on the 13th, okay? Now, amazingly, if somehow you all in that room and you're collaborating, you've just figured out a TA, don't let me hold you back in terms of, all 8 of you, but I don't know that that's going to happen today. But so what I'm saying is, like, we really do want 3 different different things to come back. But if they're not different, great. Maybe you have more coalescence around it. But so kind of that's what I'm saying. Also, do we need to touch base real quick? Did the information we had on the list of information needed, that's all complete? Am I correct on that? Budget
Yes.
information
I
needed?
think so.
Yes.
Can I
Okay.
ask a clarifying question just so that I make sure I have everything clear in my head? So we have the ending of 2.8 and we're saying that we have 6.7 to work with. But say we end with, I don't know, 4 million at the end of this year. That 6.7 would be larger, correct?
No, the 6.7 million would stay the same.
Because that's
The 4 million would be in the fund balance.
But we would carry that over into next year, right?
That's correct.
So next year's fund balances would be larger.
Yeah, and I'm saying I wouldn't make that available for compensation.
Okay, I just
That
wanted
would be
to,
available for COVID issues.
okay, I just wanted to make
Yeah.
sure I had it all clear in my mind.
No, and
Three
frankly, I
things to
think
look
that's
at.
going to be our biggest, I think all of our teams will have to take into consideration the information that Russ presented about so many unknowns in this upcoming school year, and knowing that we have to have that 1.3 for next year. But it's anyone's guess, just the economy always is, right? So it's a challenge more for next year probably than it is for this year. I think next year is going to be tougher. I'm glad we have this practice this year because I think next year could potentially be tough. We'll just have to, we'll see. Things like all those claims, for emergency paid sick leave, there's just like one of the categories that could impact our budget. So increased sub costs, those kinds of things.
Thank you. So guys, the reason I'm giving you extra instructions is I've never had an IBB team that your teams are all working in the same building, and I just don't want it to sort of throw the process, but I want to ask a question. You also have the luxury of having Russ in the building with you. So
Is that a luxury?
getting deeper.
I'm sure about that one.
Right, it's a luxury, right? So I know, right?
I'll be the
But
first one
so
to
I
disagree.
don't want Russ and Jill are on a team. And I did try to. I don't have a sense of who is a budgety person, who's a numbers person. Clearly, some people are more analytical and have dug in deeper. When I put the teams together, I tried to make sure, based on what I was hearing, at least there's one person on every team that seems to sort of naturally get those budgets, Russ's presentation. But I guess without pulling Russ from Jill so they can do their work, if there's just a burning misunderstanding that's holding you up, if you all think it's okay, I wouldn't want you to not be able to knock Russ real quick on this, what does this mean, or on this column, right? What do people think about that?
I was going to ask that question, knowing my own shortcomings. If it's like hey, what multiplier would we have to use, or like something like that, or how much are we supposed to budget for this? But I don't want to ruin the spirit of don't collaborate with
Right.
other teams, but I also don't want to come to a stopping point if we need information. And of course, it wouldn't just have to be Russ. There's other people who we could direct those factual questions to, maybe.
What do other people think?
Russell, in that folder, because that document that you showed me yesterday,
Yep.
is that the steps? What's the name of that one? Or is it in there?
Yeah, it's in there.
Is it the directions for the teams? Or
Are you talking about the additional staff?
No, the
Staff.
staff, so if we could look at to see who was here and those steps.
Yeah, it's called Steps, 2012, 13.
Okay.
It's in the records for.
I was just
teams
making
review.
sure that was the right. Okay.
so what I think Rachel and I are kind of saying the same thing. If things get complicated, maybe just a factual or a calculation question of Russ. I wouldn't say that if I thought Russ was going to get there and influence what each team comes up with, right? Russ is clearly just the guy that seems to be able to, right, answer factually and help with process, and then he'll get creative and in his team with Jill. But so, you know, I wouldn't seek Russ out if you don't need him, but Russ, are you okay if someone has that kind of question that Rachel described today, that they could connect with you very briefly on it?
Oh, absolutely, yes.
And is everybody else okay with that as part of the process? If not, just say.
I mean, I think Russ is definitely a great resource, but I know that Jay and Jill do a lot, like, on our end, digging into the budget, so I think they're also great resources to ask questions as well, like if Russ is busy with something.
Yeah, absolutely. And just like I said, I felt like each team has somebody that's strong, if not two people that are strong. And you may be strong and I don't know just because you weren't weighing in a lot on stuff. So, yeah, I did try to kind of break the teams in a way that there was somebody that sort of had a niche for the budget, if you will. But it was very based on very brief observation of y'all. Okay, and then last question I have, the one issue that we have not unpacked that we are going to be picking up very fresh, and this is just about me managing your week of the 13th and the time that's going to be required and allotted, right? When because we're those 3 days we're going to work on economics, but you also have the outstanding column, not the third column that Jay created or talked about, but the outstanding non-economic column. The one I never heard you guys even talk about was NEA number 6. I'm not suggesting you really unpack it right now, but when you looked at that, is that anything that you'll need to be prepared to between now and 13 days from now? Does anyone need to pull any information or any data related to that? Or is that truly, you know, anecdotal and discussion in order to work on that?
When you say NEA 6, are you talking about the professional development? Or did you mean NEA 5?
Oh, NEA 5, that was the one I was originally missing, yes. That's the one I really haven't heard about. Is that anything that when you get to it, you're gonna say, oh, well, we were off for those 13 days. I wish we would have looked at or gathered or this or that or whatever. In other words, will you guys be prepared to hit the ground running on IB being NEA 5 the week we're together again?
When we went through our issue statements, we wrote down that having elementary and secondary master schedules and secondary hourly schedules would be nice.
To see how much time is in each hour. So like for secondary, our class, at high school, our classes are 50 minutes, and at the middle school level, they're lower than that because they have 8.
Okay. Is there anyone that can take that homework assignment?
It's really the Bell
I think they're
schedule.
on the website, aren't they?
There you go. I mean, I think the Bell
Okay.
schedules would be on the website, so yeah, that's what we were asking
Okay.
for.
just
Elementary,
make-
I don't know if the Bell schedule would be
No,
on,
there's not a bell schedule, so.
because they don't have bells, right? In
They
elementary.
have 2 a day.
Yeah, the beginning of the day and the end of the day.
We do have an instructional document that might be helpful. I'll get that.
Okay.
For secondary,
Thank you, Michelle.
For secondary, it's the
Okay.
ball schedule, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, guys, if you have nothing else for me, I am going to drop off. Should I leave the meeting open or just end meeting for all? I don't know in terms of you guys are breaking out into work groups. I don't know that you need this meeting.
I think you can end it.
Okay. And then just last thing, I'm going to go ahead and send out the Zoom meetings for the whole week of the 13th. I am going to check email and voicemail every couple of days after July 1st. Okay. And my email will have, if I'm not getting right back to you, if I'm, sort of down on recovery, it'll have my colleague, Rachel and Jill, but I can't imagine there's anything that's going to be urgent. But if it is, email me. I'll be checking my email when I'm on that medical leave every couple of days. And then I'm going to see you all on the 13th.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks, Stephanie.
Today. Bye-bye.